Hi, I'm Liz Nedden. Let's have a look at area, units and conversion. So when I'm talking about area is the amount of space that is inside a 2D shape. So for example, it's looking at the amount of carpet on your floor, it's looking at the laminate on a desk, so it's looking at that two-dimensional space. So when we do area, we've got two dimensions. We've got a length on one side and we've got a width on the other side. And so when we come to calculate the area of that shape is always measured in millimetres squared, centimetres squared, metres squared, etc. So the units are always squared units. It's important. And the reason for that is each of these lengths and widths will be in, say, centimetres times centimetres will give me centimetres squared. So when I want to convert area, remember that an area has got these two different dimensions. And so I need to convert both of those dimensions. So centimetres squared is made up of centimetres times centimetres, and that means I have to convert to each of those units need to be converted into metres squared. So that leads to this diagram here. So going from kilometres to metres squared, I'm multiplying by 1,000 squared. So all of these, it's the same diagram as for the previous one, but now we're doing it as anything squared. And the reason it's squared is because the units themselves are squared. Equally, when we go on to the volume, that's going to be in cubed units, and so all of our conversions are going to be in cubed. So the other area that we sometimes come across is something called a hectare, which is used for HA for a hectare. And this is used when you're talking about large pieces of land, particularly like farms. They'll say, this farm is 20 hectares or 5.3 hectares of land. And 1 hectare of land is equal to 10,000 square metres. So that's a useful conversion. It's different from the other ones, but useful to have. So here's some examples. We've got our little conversion diagram in the top corner, and let's work our way through each of these. So the first one there, we've got 420,000 metres squared, and we want to turn that metre squared into kilometres squared. So going from metre squared to kilometres squared, that's following this arrow here, and that means I need to divide by 1,000 squared. Okay. So this is when I get my calculator out and put that in. Or if you want to do it, understand what that's doing, 1,000 squared is 1,000 times 1,000. And if I do 1,000 times 1,000, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. So it's a 1 with 6 zeros. So that's a million. So I'm doing 420,000 divided by a million. And that is going to give me an answer of 0.42 kilometres squared. So the next one, we've got our hectares. So 2.8 HA is 2.8 hectares of land. And remember, 1 hectare is equal to 10,000 metres squared. So if I had 2 hectares, that would be equal to 20,000 metres squared. So if I've got 2.8 hectares, that's going to be, so I'm multiplying that by 10,000, that's going to be 28,000 metres squared. Okay, the third one there, 480 millimetres squared, and I want to go from millimetres squared to centimetres squared. So I'm going from this one here, millimetres squared to centimetres squared. So I'm going to divide by 10 squared. So 10 squared, 10 times 10 is 100. So 480 divided by 100 is equal to 4.8 centimetres squared. Number 4, 5 metres squared, and I'm going to go from metre squared to centimetre squared. So metre squared to centimetre squared, that's this top one here. So we want to multiply by 100 squared. So 100 times 100 is going to be a 1 with 4 zeros. So that is 10,000. So 5 times 10,000 is going to give me 50,000 centimetres squared. Okay, number 5. I've got 50,000 millimetres squared. So I need to convert that, so millimetre squared to metre squared. So millimetre squared, let me just change my pen colour. I want to go from millimetres squared all the way up to metre squared. So I need to divide by 10 squared and then divide by 100 squared. So divided by 10 squared and then divided by 100 squared. And when I work that out, that is going to give me 0.05 metres squared. Number 6, we're going from centimetres squared to millimetres squared. So centimetres squared to millimetres squared, that's this one up the top here. So I'm going to multiply that by 10 squared. So 10 squared is 100, so 1.5 times 100 is 150 millimetres squared. And the last one, I want to go from metre squared to millimetre squared. So metre squared to millimetre squared, I want to go all the way down. So I'm going to multiply by 100 squared and then multiply by 10 squared. So 100 squared times 10 squared. And that's going to work out to be a very large number. So 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 zeros. So that's going to be 15 billion millimetres squared. Thanks very much for watching.